Ladies and gentlemen, discernment is a gift from God, a divine tool that helps us navigate the complexities of life. It's not just about seeing with your eyes, it's about perceiving with your spirit. When it comes to the people in our lives, discernment becomes essential. Toxic people don't always announce themselves with blatant negativity or hostility. Sometimes they come disguised as allies, supporters, even friends. They may clap for you publicly, but secretly hope for your downfall. They may speak words of encouragement to your face while planting seeds of doubt and destruction behind your back. God has equipped us with the ability to sense when something or someone is not right. However, we often ignore those inner warnings because we are afraid of conflict, loneliness, or change. We convince ourselves that we need these people, that their presence is essential to our happiness or success. But let me tell you this, when you let God lead, He will reveal the truth about every person in your life. He will show you who is genuinely for you and who is against you. That revelation is not meant to hurt you, but to free you. Discernment starts with a connection to God. When you are in tune with Him, when you make time to pray and seek His counsel, your spiritual sensitivity heightens. You begin to see what you couldn't see before. You notice patterns in behavior, hear the weight behind certain words, and feel the unease that comes from being in the presence of someone who doesn't have your best interests at heart. This isn't paranoia, this is God whispering to your spirit, urging you to pay attention. Think about how many times you felt that nudge, that inner stirring telling you something wasn't right, but you brushed it off. Maybe it was a friend who always seemed to find a way to undermine your confidence, or a colleague who appeared supportive but never missed an opportunity to sabotage your efforts. Those feelings weren't coincidences. They were God's way of protecting you. The Bible speaks to this in Proverbs 4:23, which says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Guarding your heart means being selective about who you allow into your inner circle. It means being cautious about the voices you let influence your decisions and the energy you let into your space. Not everyone deserves access to the most vulnerable parts of you, and discernment helps you determine who does. But discernment isn't just about identifying the toxic people in your life, it's about trusting God's judgment when He reveals them to you. This is where many of us struggle. Even when God shows us the truth, we cling to the lies because the truth requires action. It requires us to let go, to confront, and to move forward without certain people by our side. That can be scary. It can feel like stepping into the unknown. But here's the truth: God will never ask you to let go of something or someone without having something better in store for you. The problem is we often prioritize our comfort over our calling. We stay in relationships that drain us because they feel familiar. We hold on to friendships that no longer serve us because we've invested time and energy into them. But discernment pushes us to think beyond the temporary and focus on the eternal. It reminds us that every person in our life has a purpose, but not all purposes are permanent. When you ask God for discernment, be prepared to receive clarity. And when that clarity comes, don't ignore it. Pay attention to the people who drain your energy, who sow doubt instead of encouragement, who compete with you instead of collaborating with you. Notice the relationships that leave you feeling anxious, depleted, or unsettled. Those are the red flags God is showing you. Discernment also requires humility. It means acknowledging that you may not know what's best for you, but God does. It means surrendering your relationships to Him and trusting Him to guide you. Sometimes that guidance will come through subtle signs of shift in someone's tone, a pattern of broken promises, or an inability to celebrate your wins. Other times it will come through major events that force you to confront the truth. Either way, God's direction is always for your benefit. Letting God lead doesn't mean you'll never encounter toxic people. It means you'll be equipped to handle them when you do. You'll be able to recognize their tactics, guard your heart, and maintain your peace. Discernment gives you the power to set boundaries, to say no without guilt, and to walk away without regret. It aligns you with God's plan and protects you from distractions that can derail your destiny. But discernment is not a one-time event, it's a continuous process. It requires you to stay connected to God, to remain prayerful and vigilant, and to constantly evaluate the relationships in your life. As you do, you'll find that God's guidance is always timely, always accurate, and always designed to lead you toward His purpose for you. Separation is not something we naturally seek out. As human beings, we crave connection, community, and belonging. We build relationships and invest time, energy, and emotion into them. But there are times when God, in his infinite wisdom, calls for separation. It may not feel good, and it may not make sense in the moment, but separation is often God's way of preparing us for something greater. When God begins to pull you away from certain people, it's not because he wants to punish you or leave you isolated. It's because he is positioning you for a purpose that those individuals cannot be part of. Not everyone can go where God is taking you. Sometimes the relationships you're holding on to are the very things holding you back. They might be comfortable, but they're not conducive to your calling. They might be familiar, but they're not fertile ground for your growth. Think about the story of Abram in Genesis 12. God told him, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. Abram had to leave everything familiar to step into the promise God had for him. It wasn't just a physical separation, it was a spiritual and emotional one. God needed Abram to break away from the ties that could hinder his faith and obedience. Similarly, God may be calling you to separate from people or environments that no longer align with the purpose he has for your life. Separation is preparation because it creates space for God to work. When you're surrounded by toxic people, their negativity can cloud your vision and block your blessings. Their voices can drown out God's voice, and their influence can steer you off course. By removing those individuals from your life, God is clearing the path for you to hear him more clearly and follow him more closely. But separation is rarely easy. It often comes with pain, confusion, and a sense of loss. You may question why God is removing certain people from your life, especially if they've been part of your journey for a long time. You may wonder if you're making a mistake by letting go. However, what feels like a loss is often a gain in disguise. God is not taking something away from you. He is making room for something better. Think of a gardener pruning a tree. The process involves cutting away branches, even those that appear healthy, to promote new growth. At first glance, it may seem harsh or unnecessary. But over time, the tree becomes stronger, more fruitful, and more beautiful. In the same way, God prunes our lives to prepare us for the abundance he has planned. The separation may sting, but it's a necessary part of your spiritual growth. Sometimes God separates us because the people we're holding on to can't handle the weight of our calling. They may be envious of your dreams, critical of your progress, or unsupportive of your faith. Their presence in your life may be a constant source of doubt, discouragement, or distraction. God sees what we cannot see. He knows their hearts and their intentions. Trust that when he removes someone, it's for your protection and your preparation. Separation also serves as a test of our obedience. Will you trust God when he asks you to let go? Will you believe that his plan is greater than your attachment to certain people or places? Obedience requires faith, and faith requires action. It's not enough to say you trust God. You have to show it by following his lead even when it's difficult. Preparation through separation also involves refining your character. When you're no longer influenced by toxic people, you're free to focus on becoming the person God created you to be. You have the opportunity to heal from past wounds, develop new strengths, and deepen your relationship with God. It's in the solitude of separation that some of the most significant growth takes place. God often uses separation to realign our priorities. When you're no longer distracted by certain relationships, you begin to see what truly matters. You start to focus on your purpose, your passion, and your potential. You realize that your worth isn't defined by who's in your circle, but by who's guiding your steps. It's important to remember that separation is not rejection, it's redirection. God is not abandoning you, he's preparing you. He's shifting you out of environments that stifle your growth and into ones that nurture it. He's replacing relationships that drain you with ones that inspire and uplift you. But you have to trust the process. You have to believe that what God has for you is better than what you're leaving behind. In moments of separation, lean into God, seek his guidance, pray for clarity, and allow him to fill the void left by those who have been removed from your life. Let him show you the new relationships, opportunities, and blessings he has in store.